Hello, my name is David Roscoe. I'm Field Operations Manager for the SSAIB. I've been asked to provide a brief update on standards that are presently under revision or in development as of May 2020. The standards primarily I'm going to talk about affect the electronic security systems sector. What I must point out is that the majority of the standards discussed throughout this presentation are in revision at the moment. Therefore, the changes I describe should be regarded as draft changes or proposed changes, although quite likely they will happen. There might be some slight changes when the standard is finally published. So let's have a look at some of the standards that are under revision. First of all, BS 8243. This is a standard that deals with confirmed alarm systems, primarily applicable to an installer. It deals with the design, installation and configuration of a confirmed alarm system. Secondly, we have BS 8418. This is for detector activated CCTV systems. Next up, BS 8591, which is a standard applicable to alarm receiving centres. Then BS 9518, this is a brand new standard under development, and it specifically deals with handling of alarm systems, be it intruder alarms, fire alarms, CCTV alarms, etc. And last but not least, is BACN 50131-1. This is the European standard that sets out the requirements for installation. It's undergoing an amendment 3. And just to repeat myself, please note the following slides contain proposed or draft changes at time of writing, May 2020. There may be some slight changes in the final publication. Okay, first up, BS 8243, confirmed alarm systems. One of the key objectives when the standard was being considered for revision is to try and simplify this standard. It was recognised early doors that there are many clauses that in simple terms contain far too many words to describe what should be a very simple requirement. The result of having too many words, too many paragraphs to describe this results in the basic requirements getting confused or lost within the text. So let's see what's changed within the standard. One of the first sections in BS 8243 deals with the design of confirmed alarm system. The revision attempts to simplify some of the design requirements, removing some of the repetitive text or unnecessary text, but trying to remove some of the more prescriptive elements within the standard. A couple of examples which may describe what I'm talking about. At present, the standard requires that where visual confirmation or audio confirmation is used, either the camera or the audio listening device must cover every part of the detection area within the supervised premises. This sometimes can be impossible to achieve in certain premises, and it's thought perhaps unnecessary to stipulate that every part of the system must be covered by a camera or an audio device. Depending on risk, it might be quite acceptable to have fewer cameras, fewer listening devices, while still providing a very effective confirmation system. Another example of something that's in the standard that's very prescriptive, for visual confirmation systems, there's a requirement that states how many images should be transmitted both at time of alarm and post-alarm. A next section to discuss, the section on setting and unsetting. It's long been thought this is more complicated than necessary. There are 6 different acceptable methods of unsetting a system to comply with BS 8243. An example of one is unsetting before entering the premises. There's paragraph after paragraph describing what must occur to comply with BS 8243, and it's thought that perhaps in the past we've been too prescriptive in stating how this should be achieved, so the move is more to describe what the end result should be, i.e. you can't enter the premises before the system is unset, as opposed to specifying exactly how you should do it. So several of the unsetting methods have been attempted to be simplified. One new section that's been added is the method whereby you may set or unset using what's termed a remote device, commonly a mobile phone. The requirements for that method are presently in PD 6662. However, it is something that really belongs in BS 8243, so that's been brought into this standard. One of the most fundamental changes to the standard is the removal or proposed removal of the section that deals with handling of alarms by an alarm receiving centre. This section is purely applicable to an ARC, not to the installer, and although it's accepted the installer must have some understanding of how the ARC handle those alarms, the requirements really belong in an ARC standard, not in this standard, which is primarily intended for installers. Okay, what's hoped with the result of the revision? It's hoped that the standard should be easy to understand and only applicable to the installer, i.e. not the ARC. It's hoped that by removing some of the prescriptive requirements, it allows a more flexible solution for confirmed alarms, and also hopefully doesn't prohibit emerging technology or other methods of achieving a confirmed alarm. Next up, we're going to talk about BS 8418, which is detector activated CCTV. Again, the section applicable to handling alarms is to be removed, or is proposed to be removed. This is the same as what we've just discussed in BS 8243. There are a number of standards, BS 8243, this standard, BS 8418, there's another standard for lone workers, BS 8484, which all contain both requirements for the installer and for the alarm receiving centre. So the proposal is for this standard to take their content out and put it in an ARC standard, thus resulting in a simpler standard for the installer to understand. One of the key goals of the revision of this standard is to provide a simpler version of an 8418 system and ultimately more cost-effective system. BS 8418 has not been taken up by a big proportion of the electronic security industry. One of the key reasons cited is that at present it's quite a complex standard, sometimes difficult to comply with, and also the added requirements make the system uncompetitive against the majority of systems out there, which include both detectors and cameras. So one aim of this standard is to introduce a simpler version, and it's proposed to have 2 categories for the installer. For want of a better description, we'll call them a Type A, a standard system, and Type B, an enhanced system. Okay, let's first look at Type A. The proposal is to provide a simpler system for situations where the risk of intrusion and the consequences are determined to be low to medium. The design and installation should be far simpler than what's presently called for in BS 8418. While still providing for the type of system where the risk is low, a good confirmed detector activated CCTV system. Key is that you will still be able to obtain a URN if this system is complied with. Next, Type B system, suitable for systems where the risk of intrusion or the consequence of intrusion is of a higher level, determined to be between medium and high. This is probably going to be what is similar in BS 8418 at present, and again, obviously you will still be able to obtain a URN for this type of system. Next up is BS 8591. This applies to alarm receiving centres. This standard has to be revised due to the revision last year of European Standard EN 50518 2019. It has to be revised or withdrawn due to the fact that whenever a European standard exists that contains the same content as a British standard, then we are required under Senelec rules to withdraw the British standard or the part of the standard that conflicts with the European standard. The reason why this standard may need to be withdrawn now is that previously the version of 50518 was only applicable to ARCS monitoring intruder and hold-up alarm systems. It now includes monitoring of fire systems, CCTV, access control, social alarms, and also has included two categories of ARC, Cat 1 and Cat 2. The two categories differentiating between the construction requirements primarily, as was in previous ARC standards BS 8591 and also BS 5979. As the majority of the content of BS 8591 is now covered in the European standard, it's quite likely that this standard will be withdrawn by BSI. Okay, moving on, a new ARC standard, BS 9518. It's a provisional British standard number, as it's a new standard and not yet published. Work is in progress to produce this new standard for ARCs. It will encompass the processing, or in simple terms, the handling of alarms such as intruder, fire, detector activated CCTV, lone worker, and the filtering, i.e. delayed action of all types of alarm systems mentioned in the standard. So, as previously discussed, the content of BS 8418 or BS 8243 will be transferred into this new ARC standard. Ultimately, this should benefit the ARC and other stakeholders, as at present the ARC has to refer to BS 8243 to determine how they react to confirmed alarms. They have to revert to BS 8418 for detector activated CCTV, and so on and so on. So by bringing all the requirements into one standard for ARCs, it should make it easy for all stakeholders to understand and comply. Finally, BACN 50131-1. There's Amendment 3 being concluded. I think this is at a publication stage. There are not a great deal of changes. You're making some of them minor. However, there are one or two key changes which are worth noting. I think the most significant one is that all references to the detection of range reduction for movement detectors have been removed from the standard. This was a requirement for grade 4 systems. It's proven very difficult for manufacturers of common detectors to provide this functionality, and the result of which, because this was a requirement at grade 4, there are few grade 4 systems being installed. A new clause has been added, clause 8.8.2.2, monitoring of interconnections, the coerciveness principle. This clause sets some requirements for interconnections, such as where the connections are potted, where there's a minimum of 4 cores, and on top of that, that there's no visual differentiation between cores. Whereas if these requirements are complied with, it relaxes some of the other requirements for monitoring of interconnections when the intruder alarm system is in an unset state. A very simple example is that if 8.8.2.2 is complied with, then it may not be necessary to give tamper indication if a cable is cut when the system is in an unset state. Two new annexes have been added. Annex B, which is normative, i.e. mandatory, sets requirements for intruder and hold-up alarm systems being accessed remotely. And Annex C, which is informative, provides a table listing some of the more common cyber security threats to electronic security systems. Finishing off, should be noted that the intention is that this will be the last amendment to this particular standard in its current form. A full revision is due shortly, and in that revision consideration is being given to a new approach to the format of the standard and how the requirements are set out. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you found it informative. Goodbye.